I'm not even going to begin to say where our population number needs to be, but this is the thought experiment I want to have with you. Is it going to be possible to populate the galaxy or even just colonize Mars or anything like that if we don't pollute and dabble in technologies and industry to get us to that point? Do we want to be a species that can populate more of the solar system or the galaxy at large? I think it's possible that if we figure out a few more things technology-wise and how to protect the meat sack out in the radiation of deep space or when you get close to to stars and things like that. So, if we figure out a few things technologically, we could actually, with our meat sacks, travel further and possibly colonize other planets if we happen to get them suitable enough, or make some kind of biodome or whatever the humans have to do to exist there, terraforming, whatever it may be. Would that be worth the wreckage that we're doing to our environment? Because that's really the only way to accomplish that, is for us to have gone through the industrial age and have a very high population like we have now, with all the minds working together to make something like that happen. But I know we're not all working towards that goal. Most of us are around here just taking up space. But we contribute to the society as at large, which might lead to those things. So I want to ask this. This is a thought experiment. Should we go back to living like the tribal cultures where we're just in mud huts, hunter-gatherers, and things like that, where there's no technological progress, no industry at all? Which I lean more towards that, if we're not going to really put a concerted effort towards populating more of the galaxy. If we're not going to put a concerted effort into populating more of the galaxy, then we're just going to stay here and wreck the planet and then die when the Earth dies. But there's a chance to take all of the creations from Earth and spread them more around the galaxy. Or we could create the next type of living beings, whether it be artificial intelligence or whatever, that can do that can travel far into space without a meat sack. So we're capable of creating something like that if we put more of a concerted effort towards it. So that's the thought experiment. Should we stay here in mud huts and die when the Earth dies? But I'm trying to get people to think billions or even trillions of years ahead, to where this solar system won't exist anymore. So what do you think? Do you think it's better if we stay here in mud huts and live accordance with nature, in a better union with nature and all of the wildlife? Or should we do what we've been doing, but put more of a concerted effort into populating more of the galaxy? And like I said, if we don't break a few eggs here, we'll never get to explore that option. If we stay in mud huts in a tribal, a more natural way of being, we all die, and everything that the Earth has ever created, or God has ever created, whichever way you look at it, all of that goes away. But I think we have a chance to make those things keep going and keep existing. And it's very possible that this might not be our place of origin. This might not be our planet of origin. We very well could have been seeded from far off. And I'm not talking about any movie concepts. I'm just talking about humanity might be a planet eater. We might be a planet-eating species that is migratory, sort of like tribal cultures where they're nomadic and they're migratory. They'll stay in one place and consume all the resources, cut down all of the trees, and pretty much just eat everything up and wreck everything, and then they just move along to the next place, and then that place they ate up gets a chance to replenish itself. So I think it's possible we could be a planet-eating type species that just consumes and moves along to the next planet once the planet that we are on at that time becomes unusable and unlivable for us. And also there's one more thing to consider. If we do make it to populate more of the galaxy, and there's people 1,000,000 years from now living off-world, wouldn't they be thankful that we didn't just stay in mud huts? I think they would be thankful that we didn't just stay in mud huts, because they get to exist and keep on going almost indefinitely. But if we're just going to stay here and not be able to, maybe it's not even scientifically or physically possible for us to inhabit other bodies in the solar system or in the galaxy. You know, those are all possibilities, but if we don't try, then we'll never know. And I don't really lean one way or the other. This is my view on it. I think if we're just going to stay around here being a bunch of greedy people wrecking the earth, and there's only 0.005% of the population working towards populating the whole galaxy, then it might not happen. We might just wreck everything before really intelligent people get to invent what needs to be invented for us to do that. So don't pin me down to any leaning one way or the other. I'm not sure, but sometimes when I think about it to myself, I think that if there is a future human or a future entity that comes from us, that we either develop or we evolve into, that can populate the galaxy, in 1,000,000 years from now, they would probably, or 1,000,000,000 years from now, they would probably be very thankful that we started industry, all the inventions, all this technology. But that's the thought experiment. Is technology worth it if we do get to populate the entire galaxy or more of the solar system? Or should we just scrap it all now and go back to mud huts, remain here for however many billions of years we have left, or millions, who knows what'll happen, and live in accordance with nature? So I think I've covered everything that I've talked with people about on this topic. People of the future, if they're living off-world, would they be thankful that we did all the wrecking that we did here in order to invent the technologies needed that allows them to exist millions of years in the future off-world? You got to think about that. And you also have to think about, are we going to have the time between, if we, cut down too many trees or wreck too many waterways and pollute too many things, will we have the time to develop those technologies to do that? And my thought is that if we don't do that, we might as well be in mud huts with much lower populations that live in accordance with nature, sort of like old ancient tribal cultures. So just let me know what you think, and like I said, I'm not going to be replying to any comments anymore under any of my videos because, well, you guys know why. I just want to get what you guys think. I'm going to read all the comments that you guys write under this video because I'm very interested in this topic and to see what you think. And please take all the aspects, all the angles of this argument into account. Don't just, for tribal reasons or for political reasons or socio-political reasons, don't just jump to an answer. I want you to noodle through all of the things that I've mentioned. Like people of the future that live off-world, will they be thankful? Will it be worth it for us to do what we've done in polluting what we've polluted so far to reach that end goal? Or should we just scrap it all and say, hey, it's not worth it? And you can see that there's one more angle. There's one more angle that I want you to consider. People say that technology is bettering our lives and making it to where we can have 7, 8, 9 billion people on the planet all living relatively well, but there's a lot of people who are not living well at all. And so it's a huge imbalance where in India, China, the Middle East, and even parts of Africa, the United States, all that, we have decadence in many of those places where people in the cities, in the big cities, they live really well, but then in the outskirts, they don't live so well. Even in the United States, you get people in the outskirts and just in the hills, they don't live nearly as comfortably and as well as the people in the big cities, but the people in the big cities are what causes more of the pollution. When we're all packed together in these big cities, that is the largest contributor to pollution. The guy on the hill, he's not messing up much. So you got to think about all these things. And I'm curious about what you guys think. Let me know. I forgot to lay out the 3 options that we have. Well, there's more than 3 options, but there's 3 main options. We stay here in mud huts and live that way more in accordance with nature. That's option A. So we throw away industry and technology and go with option A. Then we have option B, where we keep industry and technology and never populate the galaxy and just live here like that, where we're kind of wrecking things but can kind of maintain. And because I think if things get worse, people are going to change. We're going to evolve into making it to where these populations can exist without wrecking everything. I think we are going to get to that point eventually. And then the third option, so that's option B. So stay here with technology and industry and never populate the galaxy, or work like mad, break a few eggs, wreck a few things, wreck a bunch of things actually, and feverishly try to populate more of the galaxy or more of the solar system. So that's option A, B, and C. And there's other options, but those are the main ones I want to throw out there and see what you guys think about.